Boston College has just lost one of their most valuable defenders.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black. I'm also the editor and publisher of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Network. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. We have three big items today. Big injury update for Boston College football. You're going to want to know about that. Thomas Castellanos, I want to get more into some of the comments that he made during Tuesday's press conference about how he feels like he's done this season, and is he really that far off from being as explosive as he could be? And finally, basketball had their media day. The ACC polls are out. I'm going to get into what my thoughts are for this season, kind of give you my preview, and we'll get into all of that in our final segment. Now, Tuesday, we got our first big injury update of the year. And if you look at BC's team, they haven't really been hit hard by injury. You lost the one game with Castellanos, but you really haven't lost anyone for any significant amount of time. Well, that's going to change because cornerback Amari Jackson is out for the rest of the season with an ACL injury that he suffered against Virginia in the second half of last Saturday's game. This is a big loss because BC, I felt, was thin at cornerback just to begin with. You were playing Max Tucker on the other side. You brought in two transfers to kind of give you depth, but Jackson was going to be your stalwart through all of this. Like, this is the guy that you lined up against the best wide receiver on every other team that you played against, whether it was Malachi Fields for Virginia or, Luther Burden. You put Amari Jackson on him because he's a guy that can make those plays. He's played for, I think it's 40 games he's played for BC up to this point. So he's a valuable, experienced cornerback, one that you can't replace. And losing him is a big blow for Boston College. I texted Mitchell Wolf of Eagle Insider about this. I said, on the span of losing, a walk-on to losing Thomas Castellanos, so 1 to a 10, where would this injury fall in terms of significance to this team? He said a 7. That's big. When you're starting to open up your ACC part of your schedule and you're down your top corner, that's a big deal. And the bigger part of this is, who do you replace him with? Ashton McShane was what Pete Thamel tweeted is going to be the guy that is going to replace him, but he's a true freshman. Ashton McShane, I think, has played 75 downs, I believe it is, or not even that, but I think 45 downs as a collegiate player. Now, he's going to be one of your top corners. So I know the coaching staff has been really, really high on McShane. They really liked him. Obviously, if he's playing, they think the world of him. And he's looked okay. Like, his PFF ratings is in the 60s, which is around what Jackson's was. But he's going to have moments. Like, if you remember that Virginia game, there was that perfectly thrown pass from Anthony Calandria to Malachi Fields right over McShane. And, yeah, better corners are going to get that, but McShane had no chance. And I just think that this is going to be tough. This is not the first time Jackson got hurt this year. He got hurt against Florida State as well, and he came back into the game, but he missed like 15 downs, I think it was, 15 plays. And in those plays, I think Florida State scored a touchdown, like, pretty quickly. So this is concerning. This also shows me that the issue that has kind of popped up is going to exacerbate itself, which is we've been able to mask the fact that the 3 cornerbacks that Jeff Hafley brought in before he quit they're not productive. Let's just leave it at that. Ryan Turner has, played a little bit, but he had I think it was the Michigan State game. He got scorched a lot. He had a really tough game. Braquise Brown, haven't seen him since the Florida State game. And Cameron Martinez is, I think, down to almost the third string nickelback. So all 3 guys that they brought in haven't contributed. Now, are they going to be cooked? I don't think so. I'd still love to see what like Bryquise Brown could do because you're talking about guys that have experience. Bryquise Brown was a starter for multiple seasons, for Georgia State. It's Georgia State, but he played collegiately. I guess that would be an upgrade. But according to Thamel, it looks like it's going to be McShane. So they must have a lot of faith in him. Now, when you look at what Virginia Tech has in terms of their offense, they have a lot of good wide receivers. I think they have 5 guys with 15 catches. Pulling it up right now. Yeah, 5 guys with 15 catches or more. So they can spread the ball around. One cornerback is not going to change the outcome of whether they can spread it with Chiron drones, but it's going to make it harder. It's going to make it harder. And so this is where your depth has to kick in. This is where you're going to have that next guy up. You don't want to lose your star cornerback, and that's basically what Amari Jackson was. But if you do, you got to be able to figure out how you're going to replace him. And I'm worried about that. The fact that you went from a guy that started, 70 games, 40 plus games to a guy that's played 40 plus snaps, that's a big change. And you better hope that McShane is that guy. So this is a big loss for Boston College. One that's going to make it tricky to recover from, but maybe there's guys out there, if McShane isn't it, maybe Bryquise Brown can play, maybe Turner can play. Who knows where they're at? So I think that's where it's at now, is that it sounds like it's going to be McShane. Now, the other injury news on Monday's press conference, it's an early week for Bill O'Brien to do his press conference. It's smaller stuff, but Jalen Blackwell is out for the rest of the year. It sounds like he's a linebacker that got hurt his knee last year. He's not coming back. And Bryce Steele, who had a relapse of cancer last year, video, if you have not checked it out, find it on BC Football. It's incredible to hear his story. No one, I mean, he's so quiet. He never mentioned any of this stuff before, but he's had it multiple times, and he's going to be out till next spring. Honestly, for him, that's great. Like, take your time. Like, your health is obviously the most important thing, and if you can take that extra year to get yourself up to the level that you want to play at your highest peak and maybe be a starter again next year, that would be great. So those guys are gone as well. So again, injuries are not huge. Like, I don't want folks to think this is like a relapse of the last 4 years for BC, because Elijah Jones missed multiple games last year, but so did, Kai Robichaux, and you were missing your George Takis. You were missing like multiple starters up and down every spot. So this is different. This is just one guy. And we'll have to see how BC secondary, is able to handle this. They're going to get challenged, and opposing coaches are going to look at this and say, we're going to start throwing on them more because that's what we can do. It's going to be BC's job and Tim Lewis's job to be able to respond. Now, in a moment, I want to revisit some comments that Thomas Castellanos made on Monday about the kind of changes he's made in his style, and is he still explosive? We'll get into that in just a moment. Now, if you like going to concerts, you like going to theaters, sporting events, wherever you want to go that's out of your house and you need a ticket, you got to check out Game Time. Game Time is the place to go to get your best seats. They've got a bunch of features you got to check out. They have Game Time picks that makes getting tickets to your favorite teams play live even easier. They filter out all the fluff to give you only the incredible deals on great seats. They also have the seat finder, which I think is amazing, where you can see exactly where you're going to sit. So there's no surprises. You're not going to end up in the nosebleeds if you're paying good money for a seat. You're going to know where you're going to sit. You're going to get to know right away with Game Time. And also, they have their all-in pricing. All-in pricing tells you exactly what you're paying. There's no hidden fees. It's all right there. That's why I like Game Time. It makes everything all up front. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. This is Locked On Boston College. I'm your host, AJ Black. I also want to invite you guys to become part of my Eagles Nest. My Eagles Nest is part of what's called Subtext, Right now, you can join for free for a month. Try it out. Use the promo code Bill O'Brien Monster, and you get to get videos. I just sent a video out to them about Amari Jackson and my initial thoughts. I send them out thoughts all the time. I do special Eagles Nest Q&As here. It's free for the first month, and then basically you can stay on and support the podcast and support the work if you like what we're doing here. I hope you take advantage of it. Again, promo code locked on. So it's on. Sorry, the locked on Boston College is the subtext program, and the promo code is Bill O'Brien Monster. Now, Thomas Castellanos, we talked a whole episode during the bye week about some of the things that have changed in the way he's playing, and I had advocated that he needs to get back to being more of a rushing passer, that he's gone from averaging 5.5 yards per carry to something like 1.2. And he hasn't done much rushing at all since the Florida State game. I've said that this has really kind of neutered some of the high volume playability of him, the explosiveness of him. And they need to get back to that. Now, Castellanos talked to the media on Monday, and here's his quote. I want to credit Kevin Stone for transcribing it. I feel I've done a pretty good job being a quarterback. I do feel like I haven't been as dangerous as last year and explosive, but it comes with me just trying to show I'm a quarterback and show that I can throw the ball and go through defenses, stuff like that. So my first reaction to this is please go back to being explosive. Like, I don't care that, like, Tommy's right. Like, he's been a better quarterback in that sense because he's got like a 14-4 touchdowns to interception ratio, but he's also only thrown for like 700 yards. Like, he hasn't been like a world beater in terms of throwing either. He's been above average at best. What makes him electric, what makes him one of the most dangerous quarterbacks in the country is when he runs the ball. And even he's saying right there, the quote said, I don't feel like I was dangerous last year and as explosive. Then what are we doing here? What's the point of this? Like, I don't need to see Thomas Castellanos, the gunslinger, because that is not going to happen. He's not that kind of quarterback. That is completely jamming a square peg in a round hole. That's what that is. He's 5'9", but he's quick as I'll get up. He doesn't look as quick as he did last year. I don't know what changed there, but he is. What I think, hopefully it's a middle ground here from what he thinks and what I think, because I would love to just see him go back to the way he was last year, and I think BC could win a whole bunch of games. I think it is. But Bill O'Brien has his way, and I get that they want to have him throw the ball because this hopefully will prevent him from getting killed. Because what happened when he started running the ball against Michigan State? He got hurt. So I get pieces of that, but it all goes back to what I said on last week's show. The instinctual runs that he makes needs to come back. And that means when he rolls out and he sees stuff, he's going to be able to diagnose this. And O'Brien and he both brought this up, that there's times when he just sits there and he doesn't do what is natural to him, which is if there's nothing there, just go. And so I think there's a little credence to what he's saying about, okay, so there's times that he needs to throw the ball, and he has been pretty effective at that. I'm saying that more often than not, though, he waits and waits and waits. I mean, I think we were on yesterday with Parker Fleming, and Mitch was saying that he has one of the best pocket times in college football, meaning that he has the most time. He should be able, if that's the case, if there's nothing there, tuck it and run faster. That is that's my thesis on how to get Thomas Castellanos better. The legs, his running is what makes him what he is. And trying to make him into a better quarterback is great if you're trying to make like a Kyler Murray out of him, which you could. Maybe there's a case to say that. I think Kyler Murray has a better arm than he does. But I think, I'm not the biggest fan of that statement, man. Like, to say like, oh, I'm getting being a better quarterback, but I lost my dangerousness and explosiveness. Then what are you doing then? Like, I mean, I love Tommy, and I'm not bashing him, but does he really think he's gonna be an NFL quarterback? Because I don't see that. Like, he's a unicorn in terms of, like, what he can do. Like, they're not gonna Kyler Murray's a unicorn. Like, he's a similar size, but he's a lot better quarterback than Castellanos, and guys his size don't become NFL level quarterbacks. But if it means being able to, like, adapt and add more to that plays, I get that. He just needs to know that it's okay to do some things that you did last year when you can, because it helps the team win and it helps your offense explode more. And it will also lead, in my opinion, I think it'll lead to him finding more times where his arm will be successful. When teams fear what he can do running the ball, they will leave things open for him to pass the ball. And so they got to get back into that system with him. I think all of this talk, I would not be surprised if we go to Thursday's game and you see a lot of Castellanos running the ball. I wonder how much of this is a smokescreen. How much of this is the coaching staff saying, "Yeah, go out there and say this stuff. See if we can kind of get them to think that this is what we're going to continue doing and we're going to do something else." You know, not there's worse things that have happened, but I think there's going to be. I honestly believe we'll probably see him running more. And so I hear a lot of these words, but I think there's probably more going on there. That's just my 2 cents. I could be completely wrong. Hit it up in the comments if you think I'm right or if I'm wrong. Now, in our final segment, basketball held their media day. The ACC media poll came out, and I'm going to talk about all of that in just a moment. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. I have been saying I've been fading on the Patriots. I went on. What did I go with? I got the spread with the Texans covering, and I got a live spread as it went up, and I hit that one and still managed to win. This weekend they are playing the Jacksonville Jaguars in London on 9:30 start, and they are 5.5 point underdogs. Do I go with my fade on this one again? I don't think so. I think these are two teams that are just putrid. But at least the Patriots seem like they were starting to go in the right direction. Jacksonville just seems like they're torpedoing. So I'm going to go with the Pats on this one. Do you agree with me? You can get over to FanDuel yourself. Get yourself started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. This is Locked On Boston College, AJ Black, wrapping things up here with a little bit of basketball talk. We haven't done a lot of that. There was media day on Tuesday. I could not make it. Though they also released the ACC media poll, and BC was ranked 15th out of 17 teams. So they're near the bottom. Not a big surprise. Ken Palm has them second from the bottom in the ACC, only ahead of Cal with a 6-14 record in the ACC, which honestly is higher than I expect. Now, the media day was filled with lots of optimism. I'm going to leave it at that. The media seemed to love everything that was going on. The players were all positive, which they should be. The coaching staff was very positive. But I'm going to be very blunt here. I look at this team and I don't think they're going to be very good. I just, I don't see it. Like, you lost Quinton Post. That was the first big blow. You also lost your 6 top scorers and you replaced them with Josh Beadle, who averaged 3 points per game last year, Chad Venning, who played for St. Bonaventure, but from everything I've read, can be pretty good down below, but is also a fouling magnet. That's a concern. You also brought in Deion Brown, who probably will be your top scorer, and a bunch of freshmen. I don't see it. I just don't. I don't see how this team is going to. The ACC is really good. You're going up against Cooper Flag and Duke. The Clemson's really good. Louisville is much improved. Pitt's good. NC State's always good. And you kind of just added some of these like complementary pieces, but like I asked this question, who is your scorer? Who is the guy that you're going to go to score? I look at what Earl Grant looks like he's going to do, which is play a 4-guard set. I I look at that and say, if you have 4 guards that can be really good, go for it. But I I don't think that BC has the talent there to do it. Like you got Chaz Kelly, who's not a scorer. You're going to also put potentially Josh Beadle out there, also not a scorer. Dion Brown, who I think will be fine, and Donald Hand, who really hasn't done much. There's a lot of potential in him, but he hasn't done much. That's why I'm concerned. I'm not for folks out there, and maybe you're someone in the basketball program. I am not saying that the team stinks. I don't know that yet. I am saying based off of what I've read, what I've heard, and just what I'm looking at, statistics, all that kind of stuff. I'm concerned that this team is not going to be very competitive this year. Now they're all saying all the right things, all the things that you want to say. Like you have Chaz Kelly saying that he's hoping that they're going to make the NCAA tournament and that this team is going to be better than last year. I mean, you lost Claudel Harris, who's a ball hog and a very, very flashy shooter. But if I were to ask you right now, who is going to be your 3-point shooter on this team? Who would you even say? Who's going to be your 4 if you don't go with 4 guards? Elijah Strong. I mean, he's been okay. I just this for me, more than any other team, there is just way too many question marks, and I just get to see them play. But I don't hate on the ACC media putting them near the bottom. I don't blame Ken Palm for this rating system. I'm just skeptical. I'm going to say I'm skeptical until they can prove me wrong. And maybe I'm wrong, but that's where I think things are at right now. Thank you all so much for listening. Tomorrow's episode will be our preview episode because remember, Thursday night is Boston College football at 7:30 against Virginia Tech. We're going to have on Mitchell Wolf. We'll get his preview and predictions. We're going to have another great episode. If you have not listened to our previous episodes from this week, what are you doing? Get back there. You need to hear my episode with Parker Fleming and Sam Jesse of Virginia Tech's Too Deep podcast. I've had 2 guests on this week. They're both talking Virginia Tech stuff. You need to go back and listen to them and make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. And I hope I will see you all again tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Boston College, your team every day.